It is Tuesday, March 5th. The time is 4:19 p.m. And I call the Board of Estimate and Contract meeting to order. Clerk Walters, you can read the roll.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Controller Morton,
Present.
Council President Gleason,
Present.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Present.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Okay, you can proceed with the agenda.
Okay, first agenda item under resolutions approving ordinances. Item number 1, a resolution in support of home rule authorizing the implementation of speed cameras in the city of Mount Vernon, New York.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
I have a question.
Yes.
And I did not ask this at council, but, so the sunsetting of this is gonna be July 1st, 2025? Is that
Yes.
effective date duration? Is that what,
Well, that's based on the state's sunset, but
okay.
we should not have to stop then. I'm sure the state will extend it.
Okay, so do we wait for notification from the state when it comes to that? Because I thought we would put a longer period of time on that.
Well, absolutely, we want to put the longest, and we're working with the state for them to extend theirs, because I don't think the state is going to unauthorized speed cameras across the state
Okay,
in September of next year. They just have to extend it on their end.
okay, no problem.
Roll call.
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
I'm sorry, just to close the loop on that. I know that, we're excited to have the speed cameras back. It's not just about it being a source of revenue. People say, oh, it's a source of revenue. It's about public safety. It's about people respecting traffic laws. When the cameras were kind of stopped and COVID happened and all of that happened at that time, we see people and we hear the residents that people are speeding through neighborhoods, and everyone wants a speed bump on every block, but a speed bump on every block is just going to make it hard for our public safety vehicles to get through the city. And so these cameras, what did we put in for the red light cameras and for the speed cameras? We've put in for both red light cameras at, of course, intersections, but speed cameras that we could move around in the city to be able to manage people's speeding and traveling. And this is very important because oftentimes it's the very people who ask for speed cameras that end up getting caught on the speed cameras when they're trying to rush their kids back and forth to school or they're running late for work. And so if you're not speeding and if you're not breaking traffic laws, then it doesn't affect you. But if you are, it kind of brings enforcement, which can change behaviors and get people's behaviors back online, because we want to make sure that our children are safe throughout the community, our elders, those who might have other abilities who are trying to move about the community are safe. And so, thank you to the controller for making sure that our old bill was paid down and that we can be in good condition to re-enter a contract and negotiate for a new contract and bring these traffic calming measures and safety measures back to Mount Vernon.
And they're all in one.
Hmm?
They're all in one. Red light and speed cameras are all in one.
Well, they can be all in one, but speed cameras can also be in places where there are not red light cameras. Like you
Gotcha.
said, sometimes in the middle of the block, because people will speed through the block and then they'll slow down at the corner. So we want to make sure that we have the ability to move them around. And I don't think we did a lot of moving of these cameras around before. And once people know where they are, then they change their behavior. So you gotta change it around and move it around for the greatest impact. Thank you. Can proceed with the.
Okay, item number 2, an ordinance authorizing an amendment of the 2024 salaries and transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 3, an ordinance authorizing the attendance of the deputy controller and one staff member at the 2024 New York Government Finance Officers Association Conference in Albany, New York, from April 17th through April 19th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
Comptroller Morton, can you just give a short description on why this is so important?
All the changes that are happening actually in finance, we gotta make sure that the accountants and the deputies are up to speed. And so this will be an opportunity for the revenue folks, the chief accountant who's doing the revenue stuff and the deputy to go and to learn about the new changes with all of the regulations around Gatsby and also New York state law around municipal finance. So every year these things change. So we got to make sure that they are refreshed and know what they are doing and in compliance with the rules.
I just want to point out the typo on the cover sheet. The code doesn't match the supported documentation. So the cover sheet says 1325. It should be
Okay.
1315.
On my sheet says 1315.
I just see it at 1325.
I didn't print the code on this agenda.
Yeah, I don't see it
Yeah.
at all.
No, he said on the cover sheet, it says 1315.
The staff report in I legislative says 1325.
Budget codes to be charged are A1315.402.
Yes, that's the referral there is correct, staff report.
Okay, got it.
I legislative.
It should be amended, okay.
I think what's interesting about this conference is also, one of the seminars is understanding the secret requirements when bonding.
Mhm.
That's gonna be very interesting.
Roll call?
Okay, Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 4, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a printer to be donated by Mr. Paul Kraskoff for the fire department.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
I just wanted to make a public thank you to Mr. Kraskoff. We run into each other outside in the rotunda after one of the veterans events, and then had reached out to us to donate 2 printers. One was not usable, and IT evaluated the second one. So this is definitely much appreciated. Fire department definitely needed it. So thank you very much to Mr. Paul Kraskoff, and we're making sure that we send him a letter of thank you, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. Roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 5, under salary resolutions.
Can we take 5 and 6 together?
Okay, do we have a motion to take 5 and 6 as a block vote?
I'll make a motion to block 5 and 6, do a block vote for 5 and 6.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Okay, all right, we had a roll call to take numbers 5 and 6 as a block vote. Okay, under salary resolutions, item number 5, salary resolution amendment, minimum maximum, DPW, MEO, sanitation. Item number 6, salary resolution amendment, all positions, DPW, motor equipment operator, MEO, sanitation.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Controller,
On the question?
oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
So just an explanation of what's happening here is that so the sanitation MEOs were being given a stipend of $1,500, but there was nothing that was in their contract around it.
Okay.
It also had not been budgeted kind of before, but yet out of, past practice, that's what that they had been doing and committed to it. And so in order to rectify this, what I suggested to the commissioner was that they redo the job spec for the Amnios and sanitation, seeing as though part of their job is that they're not only just driving, they are getting out and helping with the garbage, is to incorporate that in the job spec and then get it rated so that it all becomes inclusive in it. That's why we're doing it.
Thank you. Roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, under subheading settlements, item number 7, settling the claim of Geico ASO Kareem Lloyd.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Okay. Under subheading tax review settlements, item number 8, tax review settlement, 512 North High Street LLC.
How much is that for?
It doesn't have.
I don't have that here either.
$14,556.
14,585. Okay. Well, we have it. He just gave it to us.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Okay. Madam Mayor, this concludes your agenda items for today.
Either of you have anything else?
I do. I do. So on the last couple of meetings that we came to, the settlements have not been on the agenda. So even in the email and even on this that was printed out, those settlements are not on there. So can we just make sure that they're on? I know this has it, this does not have it. This is what I was emailed. This is what Antoinette printed out. So, and that's happened a few times. There's been 2 different agendas. So if we could just make sure that the settlements get to wherever they need to get to so that anything that's emailed to us on Friday or Monday before the meeting is reviewed, please.
Okay, so I'll work with the law department to have the agenda of today.
Okay.
Thank you.
My understanding is from the person that did it, that they are uploaded. And I have this and this upload.
I'm sure that I'm sure that the material,
Friday and Tuesday
Yeah.
is what she's saying. So what
Right.
she's depending on what she gets on Friday. And sometimes it's
Oh.
updated and added after Friday.
but I even had it double checked this morning, I had it resent to me. So I think that you're right. I think the material is uploaded where it needs to be on Legistar or what have you. But on the actual agenda itself, I would not I thought there was no settlements today,
Okay,
right?
okay.
So I'm going by what you guys have emailed. Okay, so if we can just make sure that that's on there, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Because I would not have gone back in to look to see if there was any uploads. That's all.
All right, even though this is not necessarily a Board of Estimate matter, it is a matter of business to Mount Vernon. And of course, the media has been picking up on this and we want to make sure that there's proper information out. There is an article that you've probably seen over the past few days in Lowhead, and you'll probably see a story tonight on News 12 regarding the village of Bronxville looking to do a stormwater remediation plan. We were contacted, I believe, on like November 29th by Jim Palmer, the city administrator for Bronxville, asking if we were doing any projects, if we had any projects scheduled for Huntswood. We did not at that time have anything here scheduled, in the immediate future for Huntswood. The commissioner contacted and sent an email on December 1st to the Bronxville city administrator. I guess they had. is it
Jim Farmer is the
city
administrator,
Yeah,
yes.
so the city administrator is not the mayor, it's not the chief of staff, but it's somewhere in between. Saying that we wanted more information on whatever project they were doing. We had a Zoom call with Bronxville administrative staff as well as their engineers, our DPW leadership and our engineers and our consultants. We requested information from Bronxville about the flood mitigation plan that they were putting forth or they were looking to do. We received some information, but not the level of detail that we wanted. We subsequently after that received emails from a few of our residents saying that they were hearing more about this project and wanted to make sure that we were aware of it. We were aware of it. Like we said, we were tracking it. Usually when any municipality is doing work close enough to our border, within a certain amount of feet of our border, that can have an impact on our city, our businesses, our operations, our utilities, then they would advise the neighboring community.
Yes.
We went back and saw an October town hall meeting that they had, or city council meeting that they had, where they were talking about this project. I mean, I don't look at Yonkers, White Plains, and New Rochelle. We don't look at other people's meetings, but there was a video that was sent to us saying as far back as October, they were talking about this project publicly, and they had mentioned in the video that they had notified Eastchester. Unfortunately, Eastchester is their bordering community, but not necessarily going to be impacted. Mount Vernon would be impacted. So we continue to reach out to them, ask for more information. And as they sent more information, we asked for more detailed information because it's not that we're concerned that they are doing flood mitigation in their community, but how their flood mitigation project could bring more flood waters, stormwater to our community, and if our system had the capacity to take on those extra stormwaters. We know all across the nation, across the world, and definitely in our region, all of us have been very tuned in to the conversations around climate change and extreme weather that's been happening. And so all communities have been experiencing in recent years more stormwater issues, right? That's no secret. And we have no problem with Bronxville working to mitigate their stormwater issues. The only challenge that we have and anything that we would take issue with is if it impacts the stormwater, being brought into our community, flooding of our streets and flooding of our businesses and our residential properties. And so that is the information that we are looking to get more detail on. They have not been able to provide us with that. And so on Friday, once we realized that they had started marking out the streets and putting up little flags to start their work, we did escalate and send a cease and desist, right? We sent a letter for them to cease and desist requests. We did contact the EPA, which is the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, and we contacted the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, because these are issues that touch not only our consent decree, but just stormwater issues in general. So whether it increases our illicit discharge is not the only issue that we're concerned about. We're concerned even if it doesn't increase that, does it increase stormwater coming to our community? And what is the plan to rectify that, right? So until we get that information, and we are continuing our conversations with them, then we will continue to take that stance. This is not necessarily, it's unfortunate that some media outlets are almost making it into a civil war. It's not a civil war. It's called governance and conversation. And you cannot always take action until a city takes action, right? So if you're not properly noticed, you can't respond. But once we had notification, once we knew that work was imminent, but we did not have the information that we needed, we immediately on Friday sent a letter as well as a letter was hand delivered by our by our DPW commissioner, our city council president, who was acting mayor at that time.
Yeah.
Also went up to the location where they were going to have a meeting to follow up and speak to some of our residents. And so that's where we are right now. We are communicating and continuing communications with Bronxville, the administration, the elected officials, and we will continue to give people updates. Be rest assured, what we didn't do was sit on our hands. What we did is take action when it's appropriate to take action. Jim Clyburn, Congressman Clyburn, said something, and it's something that sticks with me, and it's how I operate. He said there's a difference between making headway and headlines, right? Our focus is to make headway by having conversations with the electeds and the administrators of Bronxville to ensure that our community is not improperly affected or damaged by the work that they're doing. And so we are having conversation. Some people focus on headlines, right? But headlines don't always allow things to be solved. And so we're focusing on the governance of this issue and working with our neighboring municipality and not creating unnecessary headlines. And so again, while we are here to ensure that Mount Vernon is properly represented and properly protected, we're not fashioning this to be some type of civil war between communities, and we will not operate or participate in that type of public folly. So, you have any other thoughts?
No, I think you said it very clear, and we were very clear that day. It's not a Mount Vernon against Bronxville situation. It's just a matter of everybody sitting at the table and making sure that each community is well represented and that not one is overly impacted by any type of project, whether it be Mount Vernon or Bronxville.
Controller, any thoughts, any questions?
No, not on that.
Okay. All right. So that's all for that. You have another issue?
Yeah, I think it's important to make sure that we put on record what's happening with the school district and the city around the $11 million that was owed to the school district from the taxes from the years of 17 to 19. As you know, we did come to an agreement with them on the $11.7 million. Since that time, we have paid off the amounts to get that amount down to a little bit over $6 million now is what is owed to them on the tax amount. Based upon the fact that this had gone to court and that there was a filing that was issued out, against the city on it. There's also this mandatory interest piece that happens for pre-judgment period as well as post-judgment period. As a part of the agreement was that once we settled with them on the amounts that we want to pay, which we agreed on $350,000 every month to send over to the school district. Keep in mind that I have given the documentation that it's not as if the city had collected the majority of this. I won't say all of it, but the majority of the $11 million. But that actually the taxpayers had just not paid it and for a variety of reasons. But it's indicative of exactly what is going on with our taxpayers right now and the struggles that they're having. So understanding that the city did not actually receive the money and just misappropriated it. No, we are actually still going after the taxpayers to get that money. We did agree to $350,000 every month for up until August, September of 2025. And with that agreement also came that the forgiving of the post interest that would have come as a part of a mandatory kind of interest payment. What was still outstanding as a part of the negotiation was the the pre-judgment or pre-settlement interest, which is statutorily 9%, right? We've argued back that 9% is high, and let's kind of come up to an agreement on what we can pay, because basically 9% means that it's going to affect the city's cash flow to be able to kind of actually do its own operation. Again, it's not as if the city collected the money and just used the money for something else. And three, that really, you're asking us to basically get that from the taxpayers on top of it, right? Because at the end of the day, it all is going to affect what we
Same
have.
base.
It's the same tax base. It's the same, I mean, it's not as if it's two different cities. It's the same tax base. So I did offer for 4.5%, which was the kind of my thought process was we're gonna split the baby. Let's do this. That would have meant, well, first of all, let me give you a context. 9% interest would be $3.1 million, right? That the city would be asked to pay.
In total?
In total,
For interest,
three point in interest. That's an additional
On top of the
on part of
11.7.
what we already paying, $3.1 million. So then I offered the 4.5%, which would mean that it would be 1.58. 1.58 is basically what it comes to. That would be what we would have to pay to them over. And what I suggested is that you allow us just to increase the monthly payment amount from $350,000 to $400,000, and we would pay it all off by September of 2025, both the tax and the mandatory interest. That offer was given to their attorney. What we hear, we haven't officially gotten the decision of no, but what we hear is that's not going to pretty much be acceptable. We're going to wait for the decision or counter to that. It was suggested that maybe somewhere around about 6%. So I just want to give you kind of the context here. If it's 5%, it would be $1.76 million, right? And then, of course, if we looked at the $400,000 every month, it would still put us all the way out up until September of 2025. We basically that's if it's just 0.5% more. Right? It just means that the last payment is going to be a little bit more than what it normally would have been. If it is 6%, then we would be talking about 2.1%, 2.1 million on that. And we would have to ask to extend that payment plan out to November of 2025, right? To kind of even out, still kind of paying out $400,000 every month. Again, right now, there's no guarantee that we're going to collect the $400,000 from the taxpayers to balance out what it is. So we would have to we basically would be having to find the money from wherever it is that the city would be getting revenue from to supplement any part of that we would not collect from the taxpayers. If it is 9%, which it could very well be if one, either we don't come to a settlement, or two, we end up it goes to judgment. I mean, from the court, it's a mandatory statutory amount. 9% means that we're talking about, depending on the time frame, if it was to start this month, it would be $450,000 a month, right? Basically, going all the way out until November or December of 2025, in order to pay that out, which means that it would strangle the city even more from a ongoing operation perspective, as well as from if you think about it, that's an additional $50 million for every month for 12 months, right? And so it kind of strangles us to do it. My point is that, again, it's the same tax base. What you also need to know is keep it in context too, that that's not all that we would also have to be paying the city, the school, because right now the school on May of 2023 gave us the certifications for the 2 years in which they were collecting the taxes, which is 2020 and 2021, 2021 and 2022, right? What they certified as having been uncollected by the school district that they then were turning over to us to try to collect for 2020, 2021 was $4,977,000 for that 1 year. For 2021 and 2022, it was $5,944,000 that had not been collected as of May of 2023, which means that those two amounts, whatever we don't collect between now and May of 2025, and let's just say we get that number down to $2 million that is not paid, we would legally owe them $4 million in May of 2025, in addition to paying the $450 every month up until September or November of that year. Then on top of that, they did in February of this year also certify their 2022, 2023 outstanding taxes or unpaid taxes, uncollected taxes, and that amounted to $5.5 million, which means that, again, if we take the same philosophy and we say that we're able to collect somewhere between February of this year and February of 2026, $3 million, we would owe them $2 million in February of 2026. So let me snapshot it. $400,000 every month up until May of 2025. In May of 2025, potentially there could become due, again, an additional $4 million on the $400,000 we owe them for the month. Then we pay them $400,000 every month up until September, November or so, right? And then in February of 2026, what will be owed to them is $2 million too, if we don't collect it, right? Looking at the history, it has been that typically you've had somewhere around about 1.7 to $2.2 million that has not been collected, that was basically turned over to the city to actually go into tax foreclosure for. So what I'm estimating is reasonable based upon what the history says that would be done. But this is how the city would be kind of tied up in how it functions with the money that would be due, the taxes that would be due to the city, based upon the fact that our taxpayers are having a hard time paying it, both at the city and at the school at present. And so that kind of gives you the real understanding of where we are. And of course, all of this is because, and I got to figure out a way, and I might have to just kind of take this on. I don't know how successful I'm going to be, but the real estate law around this, where it holds the city responsible for making the school district whole and being responsible for it, is flawed. No one ever thought that there would ever be a pandemic. No one ever thought that we would have a comptroller who also was not working with everybody and may not have been collecting things collectively the way that they should. But most of it is that our folks are just struggling with financially, and they just can't do it. And so it may come down to actually foreclosures and tax lien sales in order for us to make sure that the city operation, either one, doesn't stop, or two, doesn't declare bankruptcy in order to get this done.
Mhm. And I mean, we've had conversations about, potential numbers of parcels that could be impacted by foreclosure. We know that this is not a new issue, but it is an issue that was definitely exacerbated by the pandemic, and people feeling moratoriums and kind of just holding back on different things. And there's no easy way out of it, right? There's no easy way out of it. The question that I do have for you, Comptroller, is with the school district having taken over their tax collections for 2020, 2021, 2021, 22, 2022, 23, and forward, would the same type of interest that the city owes the school district be applied, being that it was the school district who was collecting their own taxes? I mean, will the same types of interest be levied against the city for the school district's challenge in collecting the taxes, or do we just need to make them whole on what they could not collect, right?
We have to make them whole, right? We have to, after 2 years, so in the example, right? Let's take the 2022, 2023, that they just certified in February of this year, right? That's the $5.5 million. We now have 2 years to collect that, right? Now, as we are collecting that, what is still running is the interest onto the taxpayer. So every time the taxpayer gets the 1% interest that's added onto as long as they continue to not pay it. But that interest, again, whatever interest we collect and taxes that we collect, that goes to the school district. So at the end of the 2-year period, February of 2026, whatever was left on the taxes due, plus whatever interest had incurred between February of this year and February of 2026 would be due to the school district. It's not as if we're getting the interest.
Right.
Right? The only thing that we're getting right now is a 5% on a collection fee on what is owed. Right.
Okay.
It's a lot to swallow.
And as
Which
it's
is-
already been stated, it's coming from one tax base, and so in Mount Vernon, it's been this whole thing is city against school. And even recently, people are like, oh, the city owes the school district, like we were unwilling to pay. And as you've said, it's not as if this money was collected. And this is money that we used to fund city operations. The monies were not collected, just like the monies, from some of these same people weren't collected on the city side of the taxes. And so it's not as if we're holding on to monies and not giving it to
Well,
them.
it's also, the comptroller wasn't given the factual information for a period of time also, correct, comptroller? You didn't get the certifications.
Well, yeah, the certifications for 2020 and 2021.
That only came in when? So
It
did
came
that
in
come-
May of 2020,
23.
23.
Right, so now that we have it, up until this point, comptroller, how much money has been paid back to the school district out of that 11 million?
Out of 11 million, we're down now to 6.1, I think.
6.1
We're
million?
down to 6.1.
So I think that's a really important point, because I keep reading in the newspapers, the city owes 11 million, city owes 11 million. We've paid a significant amount of that debt down.
Paid about 40 to 45% of it.
So, yeah, so we're at 6.1 million, you said? 6.1 million. Which, that's a compliment to you, comptroller, and how you've been able to do this, but I think that more than anything, the city of Mount Vernon is very lucky that we were able to elect somebody of your caliber to be able to pull this together in 2 years and almost 3 months. So thank you very much.
And again, this is unbudgeted, right? These are monies that you're paying right now that are unbudgeted. So, again, this is no easy feat. This is not just about sending out a tax letter and people are running to pay these amounts. It's constant conversations and pursuit. And as you said, it might have to escalate and move into, in-rim and foreclosure. And so Yeah. but
I just
that's
have one more
a continuing discussion.
Your opinion on the amnesty, did we can collect a considerable, it's actually a twofold question. I know that, I thought the amnesty was a great idea and was it successful? And the second part of the question is, I know we had a sidebar conversation. Some residents had come to me and said that, because of heating costs in the winter, they had added expenses and we're hoping that the city would extend that amnesty into, the spring at some point. I'm wondering where we are with that.
So we had a low number of people to take advantage of it, but that may be because of the reasoning that you're just saying, is that they felt as if they did not have enough disposable income for them to be able to do it, right? So I mean, I don't necessarily see where there's a disadvantage to a consideration of a extension to it. I mean, but we did have a few people to take advantage of it, which was a plus.
Mhm. Okay. All right, well, that's good.
Okay.
So you would be in favor?
Yeah, I would have no problem. I mean, extending it until the spring sometime or that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's try and get that on the council's next agenda. If we possibly could.
Anything else?
I don't think so. I think we covered an awful lot today.
We did. All right, if we can have a motion to adjourn,
A motion to adjourn?
Second,
roll call.
Controller Morton,
aye.
Council President Gleason,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
The time is 5:01 p.m.
Meeting adjourned at 5:01 PM. Thank you very much.